Life really does come down to servanthood. Life is measured by who we present ourselves as servants to obey. For just a moment, look at Romans 6 with me, because Paul effectively communicates this in Romans chapter 6, talking about the end of those who decide who is going to be their master and to whom they're going to present themselves. I want to start in verse 12 and just read down lightly through this, because we could go for a long time. There's so many significant events, especially starting the 11th verse. The first imperative in the book of Romans comes in the 11th verse, but we're starting in the 12th verse. But I think it's amazing that the Apostle Paul starts making commands based on everything he said about salvation in chapter 5. Verse 11 of chapter 6 starts in the imperative mode, and it continues. But look at verse 12. Therefore, of Romans 6 and verse 12, do not let sin reign in your mortal body. He's saying, say no to sin. By the way, that is something we have the opportunity to do, and we have the responsibility to do. And we do not just pray that the Lord will deliver us. We have to say no to sin. We do not conquer sin and flesh and lust in our life by just prayer. Memorize a few more verses and pray. It has to be an act of the will, a conscious saying no to sin. He says in verse 12, therefore do not, you have to make a choice, do not let sin reign in your mortal body, that you should obey in its lust. Verse 13, and do not present your members as instruments of unrighteousness to sin. Stop the pattern. Stop the continuous yielding up of yourself. But here's the positive, verse 13. Present yourselves to God as being alive from the dead, your members as instruments of righteousness to God. For sin shall not have dominion over you. For you are not under the law, but under grace. You deny your old master. You don't have to succumb to that anymore. And so we can be slaves to God. That's what this is all about. What then? Shall we sin because we're not under the law but under grace? Certainly not. Verse 16, do you not know that to whom you present yourselves slaves to obey, you are that one slaves whom you obey, whether sin leading to death or obedience leading to righteousness? We're supposed to enlist with God as His servants and just say, I want to present, verse 16, myself to you. Verse 17, but God be thanked, though you were the slaves of sin, yet you obeyed from the heart that form of doctrine which was delivered, to which you were delivered, and having been set free, verse 18, from sin, you became slaves, bondservants of righteousness. See, that's who we're going to serve. Are we going to serve God as a bondslave to Him and as a bondslave to righteousness? Or are we going to serve ourselves and our former passions? That's the choice laid before us. Verse 19, I speak in human terms because of the weakness of your flesh. For just as you presented your members as slaves of uncleanness and of lawlessness leading to more lawlessness, so now present, that's the fifth imperative in a row, your members as slaves of righteousness for holiness. So an imperative means a response is required and demanded of us. And so our response is that life really comes down to servanthood. Who we present ourselves as servants to obey, as Paul says in Romans 6, is going to determine what the outcome of our life and what is going to endure.